Now that I have published my very first book of many, there does seem to be a theme around me that more and more people voice their desire that they too have this goal of writing a book one day. But the moment I ask more about it, their self doubt comes up and they start portraying writing a book into this like crazy mammoth task that takes years and years to do, that they don't have the time for it, and that they don't actually know how to write a book, and that it has to be perfect from the get go. And like look a certain way from the get-go, and that someone else has already written about this topic, or and that there's so many other books already out there. All of these are excuses based on fear and limiting beliefs, which is obviously something I'm obsessed with chatting about because hi, hello, hi, I'm Josi. I'm a certified leadership and mindset coach and published author. I've turned some pretty shitty situations of my life into gold, including burnout, divorce, being alone in a new country, redundancy. So I very much have been there when it comes to overcoming limiting beliefs and self doubt and the judgment of others to reach your goals. So when it comes to writing a book, we want to overcome exactly that first, okay? So, like, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's work, but it's not impossible. If you can speak, you can write. And I doubted that I can do both for a very long time, and I still wrote my book, as we can see. So in this episode, I want to share with you a great resource first up that will help you to first overcome these limiting beliefs, and then share with you some of my top tips on how to write a book based on my own experiences of what worked best for me when writing my debut book, And There She Goes Her Way, which, by the way, is already out for sale. And the link, if you want it, is in the description box below. So do save yourself a copy. Same with the resource I'm sharing. Same with the resource, by the way, that I'm sharing with you right now. So, anywho, limiting beliefs. Let's get juicy. So, if you're like me, you might have been growing up in a world where being a good girl was praised. You were programmed to not have a personal opinion, and anything that's not normal or like everyone else is doing things is being devilized. And I had strong beliefs from a very, very young age that there is no God, for example, to guide us all, but rather that we have all the power in ourselves. So I'm not religious. I never was. I refused to also go to my religion class in grammar school because of that, because I already considered myself an atheist at the age of like 6 or 7. But when I spoke about it, I literally got shut down immediately. And some people even said, oh, that you're stupid. Like you have to learn more first, that I have to get into class, even if I don't believe, because that's the rule. So I was judged for my opinion quite harshly and forced taught about something I felt very strongly about. Another example is whenever I got asked what I wanted to be, it all got shut down as well. So when I said I want to be a boss at the age of 2 or 3, I got laughed at. When I said I wanted to draw and be creative for a living, I got told I need to do something that's actually a job, like a real job. When I said I wanted to work in finance, I got told I'm shit at maths and I won't make it. Even when I wanted to write my book, I was told at first, you're too young, you can't do it. Then later on, I was told, I'm too old to do it. Like, what the actual fuck? Like, the problem with all of these imposed restrictions by other people's opinions is that we adopt them. And to keep us safe, our brain saves them as proof that pursuing dreams or big projects like writing a book ain't possible for us. But hear me out, okay? We wouldn't have any books if everyone believed this crap. If so many other people can write a book, so can you. It doesn't matter what your background is, whether you deem your story good enough or exciting enough, whether you have been great at writing stories in school or not, whether your ex says no one is going to read it or not. The book is first up for you. If you want to write it, if you have had this idea lingering for so long, then this is enough sign and proof that you are the person to do it. What stops you right now is all of these limiting beliefs, but there are simple ways to work through them. So head into the description box and download my free guide to learn the exact process that I use myself. I also shared it in a previous episode, but here it is again in very, very short, step by step. Step 1, become aware as to why you're holding yourself back. Like, what is the limiting belief here? Step 2, debunk it and release it so you can switch your beliefs and thought patterns. Step 3, take action based on what you really want and who you really are at your core. You deep down know that you can do it. So all we need to do is to peel these limiting beliefs away to bring her back out again, your best self. Once you have done that, we can get to work on your book. So for me, I would put it into like 4 stages, which are stage 1, the setup, stage 2, the writing, stage 3, the editing, and stage 4, the publishing. So let's dive into detail. Okay, so stage 1 is the setup. It's all about setting yourself up for success and the planning of your book. So this will require you to do several rounds of brainstorming. And what I did at first was to start with a whiteboard and writing my ideas like into the middle. Then I thought about different topics I felt like I had to touch on in order to cover everything. At this point, like I didn't decide on any chapter names. I only had the book title that was actually clear to me even like very early. But even that is not really necessary yet at this point. The underlying idea is all you need. Then you take your mind map and brainstorm on it again, and you sort it into potential chapters and add maybe some subtopics for each. So you have like a rough idea of what these buckets could include. And then you already have your very first rough outline. And I put it all first into a G-Doc and then actually brainstormed on it again and put it into a table with sections and chapter numbers, like placeholder chapter names and a 1-sentence description of the topic. This way I just could see better where that flows well and it doesn't make sense. And that's literally your outline done. That's your basic outline done. You don't want to overdo it. The second part of setting yourself up for success is all about the maths and creating your writing practice. So if you want to write a standard length book of 50,000 words, and you have a certain date in mind by which you want to finish your first manuscript, you can calculate the amount of words you need to write on the writing days. So I, for example, had planned to finish my book in December and I started in October and I wanted to write on weekdays only. So weekends were non-writing days. So that meant for me, I had to write about 600 words every day. And my guess after a little bit of research was that this might take me an hour or so to do. So I opened my calendar and put in like a week daily placeholder for my writing time from like 10 to 11 a.m. And this time was undisturbable and untouchable. I would not have any calls in that time. And my boyfriend also was banned from the room. So I could literally just write, which brings us to stage 2, the writing itself. So thanks to my preparation and having an additional accountability system in place of a group of beta readers who would expect like a new chapter every single week to read and give feedback on, this whole writing process actually was the easiest part. So I ended up writing way more than 600 words. So I actually finished my first manuscript in 40 pure writing days. Like, again, not taking into account the weekends. Did I have writing block days? Yes, but I still sat down for the hour and either wrote on the new chapter, implemented edits based on the feedback I received, or I went through sometimes my archive of blog posts to see if I had already written some material that I can reuse in my book and expand on with more detail and better examples. So the key of overcoming like a writing block was to still do something. And then once I was in the groove, there was just no stopping. The book was written faster than I expected, faster even than my beta readers could read it, and they needed extra time to catch up with on everything, which is when we then entered the stage 3, the editing. So first, I left my book alone. I think I didn't do like any work on it for a bit more than a month. So my beta readers had like loads of time, and once they finished it and provided their feedback, I implemented most of their comments, like did some own edits and put on like tied together some loose ends. And I went on to look out for an editor. So I spent some time on researching the whole self-publishing process as well, thought about the cover and how to move forward. And I found a brilliant editor and fellow author on Fiverr, and she did a really, really good job at like correcting my grammar mistakes, which mainly were wrong comma placements, and which is clearly not my forte. And she also gave me great pointers and sections to improve like wording, change examples, question my logic. If a sentence didn't make sense at all, she would literally put like, this doesn't make sense, which was great. Because when I sometimes read the sentence back, I was like, yeah, I don't even understand what I've written there. But she also sometimes pointed out like some paragraphs she liked. So that was really helpful. So then I got into work to implement all her edits. And I think in total, she put together like over 4,000 edits that I had to implement. Then afterwards, I ordered another proofread copy and got into the next round of editing. So I literally went into the text myself and used good old pen to mark some places in the book where I felt like I needed to do changes. I checked also like some formatting where I wanted to switch things up. And this process, honestly, that took not only longer than writing the book itself, it also was harder. It's not like you just brain dump it all into paper. You now work through it like very thoroughly and want it all to flow like smoothly. You want it all to make sense, to not repeat yourself, to back things up with studies when needed, or have better examples or different examples. Or maybe you want to add further exercises so readers get the most out of it and understand it all as well. But to editing, I also count the formatting. So if you're like me, not using Word, but I don't even know how to say it, LibreOffice, I don't know. You will most likely like Google a hell a lot of instructions as you go, but not just about the program, but also about the formatting rules you want to implement in order to create the best possible reading experience. So you will need to take into account things like the width of the margin on the inside of the book, and it needs to be different like than your outside margin. Or you may want to have different headers for each section of the chapter. You shouldn't just press enter to create paragraphs, but to change actually the setting itself and so on. Like there's so many small rules to take into consideration, but working through them will be indeed worth it. Like your book will look great in the end. Do bear in mind, though, that you also need to save the manuscript in different formats, like for your ebook as well as for your printed book, because they need to have like different file types, like PDF or actually a Word one. And that can sometimes change the layout of the book again. So if you have been like in deep formatting, then you uploaded it to the platform, you're like, shit, it looks horrible. At least that's what happened to me. Luckily, you can use Draft to Digital actually to help create the final EPUB version. That's what you need for your ebook, as you can preview it and save it in your needed format. And this way I could like download my book to my Kindle for the ebook proofreading round, where I notice, okay, I need to maybe change some of the figures I'm showing because they were slightly misplaced and some other bits and bobs, which is where we then, I would say, already get into stage 4. So the publishing part. Know where you want to publish, know what you need to publish, and know how you want to market it. So these are the 3 key things that you want to look for. There are many, many different platforms out there where you can publish a book. It's not just Amazon KDP, but my end choice actually was between Amazon KDP and Draft to Digital, with Draft to Digital being the final winner thanks to its wider possible distribution that includes Amazon actually. But I did use Amazon KDP to create my proofread copies, simply because Draft to Digital would not allow me to have proofread copies, and they would charge fees, I think, if you change your manuscript after uploading it. So that's what I only used to then upload my final manuscript. One of the other very important questions for me was, do I need to get my own ISBN? I was watching so many videos, reading so many articles about, do I need my own ISBN? But if you have been asking yourself that same question, I can confirm after loads of research, you can just go with the one provided by D2D if you're fine with like their distribution. Like, because I didn't want to necessarily purchase like a pack of 10 ISBNs, even though I plan on writing further books in the future, because Draft to Digital does provide you one, and I'm publishing the ebook and the print book via their page. So this, so far, at this point, doesn't cause me any problems in future, hopefully. Touch wood. The only disadvantage is that I cannot use the ISBN to publish my book on other platforms that is not covered by Draft to Digital. But that's, for me, fine, because their distribution is actually quite wide and still growing. So they're actually a really, really good platform, I feel like, to use for that. Unless you want to have like full ownership or anything of your book. I mean, yes, the book is still yours, but if you want to like take it off draft edition to maybe publish it somewhere else, then you need your own ISBN. You cannot take the free ISBN from that platform to go somewhere else. So that's the only downfall. But for me, that didn't pose any problem. So I went with the free one. Also, when you publish, be sure to have all the additional information ready, like the long and short book description, your keywords that describe your book, the categories it fits into when you actually want to release it, and also how much you want to price it. So I do spend some time on thinking about these kind of things. Also, drafted digital, I think they take like a small cut from any book sold, but the publishing process itself is completely free if you're 100% ready with your manuscript for the print version. And I just want to re-emphasize, I highly, highly recommend checking the digital review multiple times. I literally lost count of how often I thought, it's ready. And then go check again and see that the sizing of the chapter heading of what, like one chapter heading was smaller than the other ones. And I had to change it, or that like a question mark was suddenly on the next line and not connected to the word it actually belonged to. So there were like some weird formatting mistakes happening every now and then. So triple checking or quadruple checking will help get rid of them, but you still might miss some. I noticed later on that I missed a couple. So, for example, if you find where in which chapter I do not have like a full stop at the end of the sentence, that's one of them. I saw that after I uploaded my manuscript, but I was like, okay, that's fine. 80-20. Okay, we go with 80-20 here. But I do think with Drafted Digital, you can also upload a free new version after 90 days of it being published. So my next version, if I upload the new manuscript in 90 days, there will be a full stop at the end of that sentence. You can bet on that. So once all of that is in place, it's time to talk about your launch. There are so many different ways you can do it, but I'd say to do what is most fun to you. In my case, I decided, as you might know, to do like a virtual book cover reveal party, which you can still watch on YouTube if you're curious, as well as several giveaways. I had special signed copies with personal notes. I gave away some for free in London, which was super fun to do. I had a book release event to celebrate even more live on Instagram, collaborated with other authors on sharing each other's books, and come on as a podcast guest on different podcasts, do collab lives, newsletter swaps. So there's like an unlimited amount of things that you can do to market and launch your book. And you can also do, of course, in-person events if you want to. I didn't, and I also didn't have enough time to actually plan for it. Maybe for the next book, I might do that. Because maybe you could like go to like a library if they allow it, or you can offer special extras like a course or training when people pre-order. So I've done that, for example. So there's so many ways, and it might be maybe also overwhelming as to which of these tactics you should do. But I can only repeat myself here, like do what is fun to you. Like this is your moment, your big moment. Don't force yourself to do things you don't want to do or feel strongly about. This is your time. And I personally feel like it should be a time you truly enjoy as you celebrate your big achievement, because this is huge. But that basically wraps it all up for today's episode. I'm sure I forgot some bits and bobs here and there. And if so, then, and you still have like some open questions, do reach out to me. I love chatting with fellow authors or aspiring authors about these kind of things. And I'm an open book, really. So also, of course, if you want to secure yourself, I have to say that at this point, a copy of my debut book, And There She Goes Her Way, then follow the link in the description box below and grab yourself either an ebook copy or a printed version. And if you already have read it, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads. That would literally change the world for me, make my day, everything. And I put those links into the description box below as well if you want to do so. And with that, I shall thank you and leave you. And we're back again next week, Monday, with a new episode.